Welcome to another Saturday night and taking it to the nub. I'm your host, Boston Jimmie. Most importantly, tonight's going to be a show that's different than others because we're going to see some things that you haven't seen before. And we'll get to that in just a moment. Right now, let us introduce our front-end sponsors of the show. This episode of Taking It to the Nub is sponsored by the Box Press Cigar app, the ultimate cigar smoking experience. With Box Pressed, you can easily catalog cigars with your own virtual humidor, quickly rate and record notes for any cigar using the Smoke Session feature, receive intelligent cigar recommendations based on your personal taste profile, and access exclusive discounts from top cigar brands. You can even shop your favorite cigars directly in the app, then automatically sync the order to your virtual humidor, plus so much more. Download BoxPress today by typing bxpr.sd/install into any web browser and discover the world of cigars like never before. That's bxpr.sd/install. And today's show is brought to you by All Saints Cigars, a company founded in 2019 and headed up by industry veteran Mickey Pegg and his two friends, Martin Corboy, a successful restaurateur, and Frank Leo, an Air Force Academy graduate military veteran. As Mickey explains it, they were all sitting down talking and smoking cigars, and finally they decided that they would do this thing together. It was time. Mickey said, "I decided if I'm going to work hard at it, it should be something I love. Besides, a tough day with a cigar is better than a great day doing anything else." Soon after, they began the process of launching All Saints Cigars, jokingly referring to themselves as the Holy Trinity: St. Michael, St. Martin, and St. Francis. They chose for their logo the cross of St. James, the patron saint of Nicaragua, the country where their cigars will be produced. You can check out All Saints Cigars at www.allsaintscigars.com. Okay, and that is our sponsors to start the show. But I want to throw up one more video here, which is important. This is what we're about to talk about tonight with inventor and owner Mike Pike and his sales manager Tim Overlin. Gentlemen.
There we are. We had way to go through the Zoom protocol.
What's that? Oh, you didn't know the Zoom protocol? Oh, that's okay.
No, Sam, we had to give a permission for you to record it. So we officially signed our life away, I guess.
There you go. So everybody, you get to see this forever, to see all the great things that you're about to talk about tonight. So fantastic. Welcome to Taking It to the Nub. I'd like you to introduce Tim and Mike. So this is the first time I'm meeting you guys in person. So.
Well, we met for like 3 minutes in Ybor City last year.
Oh, yes, that's right. For just that.
I heard you mention your show, and I was like, hey, let's talk. So I'll let Mike go ahead.
Yep. So I'm Michael Pike. I've been working on, I'll tell you, I think my first cigar was smoked watching the Clint Eastwood Westerns. It was one of the spaghetti Westerns, and I smoked, I think it was Backwoods, because I had no clue what he was smoking back then. But I knew it was a small, skinny cigar, right? When you're a teenager, you buy the cheapest cigars available. So starting on the backwoods. I think I've smoked for just a good 30 years now. Over about the last 7 years, been working on this design. Just kind of been perfecting it over the years.
All right.
And,
But we're gonna get it. We're gonna get deep into that and over the next hour. So
yeah, absolutely.
fantastic. What are you smoking tonight? Obviously not a backwoods.
I
It's come a long way, baby.
So I stumbled on the Magic Toast about 6 months to a
Al
year
Bradley.
ago. I saw that was number 20 on your list last year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good cigar.
Yeah. So smoked the Magic Toast. Really, really enjoy this cigar. I don't know what about it. It kind of gives me the flavor of burnt marshmallow. I love burning marshmallows around a campfire.
Toasted burnt marshmallow. There you
Exactly.
go.
Yeah.
And Tim, we like you said, yes, we did meet for a very brief moment because I was running around like a chicken without a head at the Ebo Festival. What are you smoking tonight?
I've got an Undercrown. I'm trying to.
All right.
I can't remember where you can see it there. So, and I haven't been smoking quite as long as Mike, but we used to play cards together, or we still play cards together, but for several years. And
well, he tries. Well, I play cards. He tries to play cards.
We could check out the win-loss total, but that's another story. But we just chit-chatted over there once a month, and then all of a sudden, cigars came up, and we started hanging out. And about the time COVID hit, I mean, I had an occasional cigar before, but now it's, that was the habit I developed over COVID when you couldn't go anywhere. So now
we don't think of it as a habit. We think of it as a hobby, as a journey, right? I mean, you started the journey, and welcome to the journey. Okay, it takes time, and things will develop as you continue your journey. So today, so I'm dressed all up in Karen Berger style today, for two reasons. I figured I don't have a brand owner on. I probably should pick a good cigar to smoke on the show. So I'm actually smoking a K by Karen Berger Connecticut. It's one of my favorite Connecticut cigars out there. Smoked a few already today, other cigars, and it's time to just, settle down a little, have something a little milder with a little bit of a kick. But remember, tomorrow is Mother's Day. So here's to you, Karen. I mean, she is probably one of the most hardworking moms I know in this industry. Not only is she had a baby just a few years ago, but she mentors a lot of people too. She brings them in. She plays that mom figure in multiple ways. She was brought in through her husband, Kiki Berger, God rest his soul, and she's picked up the reins of this company and has done amazing things. So congrats to her, and congrats to all the moms out there on Mother's Day. I hope you have a fantastic Mother's Day. Spend time with your moms, everybody. And if you don't, like me, spend time with your daughter. If you don't have that, spend time with somebody else who's a mother and have fun with it. PK Rooms. I looked at the website. I showed the video just now, the intro video. I kind of understand what you're doing. First question I would ask is, what does PK stand for?
So myself and my wife and another couple were down in Dominican. This is 5 years ago now. And we were on the bus headed somewhere. And the guy at the front of the bus, checking everyone in, he was saying everyone's last name. So he comes to our last name, unbeknownst to me, and he says, PK. 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 My buddy elbows me. He's like, hey, I think that's you. I said, Pike? And he said, oh, yeah, PK. So apparently in the Dominican, they say Pike as PK. So, of course, Tim and all the guys, we get together often and smoke cigars and whatnot, Wednesday nights. And I told them that story, and then they, of course, all started calling me PK. So that's where it came from.
What a great story. should be on your website. I mean, that makes total sense. You know, you cigars, Dominican, PK, Pike. Now it all makes sense. Didn't make sense before. I was trying to figure that one out. Um, so you've been working on this for a while.
Yes.
This concept, and you're sitting in one of your rooms right now.
We are.
Explain to the audience exactly what we're looking at and why this is important for somebody to have if they want to be able to like smoke in their house, and for many reasons. And you probably know better than I would be able to explain.
Yeah, well, I mean, who doesn't want to enjoy cigars any time of the year, right? And we're in the Midwest. You have plenty of times where it's too hot, too cold, too windy, or it's raining. In fact, we're going through our rainy time right now. It seems like every other day it's rained. So there ironically are plenty of times here that you can't enjoy a cigar outside. But wouldn't it be nice if you could enjoy a cigar anytime inside? Doesn't matter whether it's 100 degrees out, it's still room temperature in your house. So the idea was born from being able to enjoy cigars at any time. Whether you want to wake up in the morning and come down with a cup of coffee and have a quick cigar and then, take a shower, go to work, whatever it may be. And so that's kind of where this idea came about, is the ease of smoking a cigar without having to either drive every time to a lounge or go outside when the weather is inclement. And so this was, what can I invent that can be installed easily, that you don't have to try to retrofit an entire room, but literally be able to place this, install this within a room, put it up in a short amount of time, but it's a great, nice looking quality structure that can be there for as long as you own the house, and you can tear it down and move it, and also doesn't get smoke in the house. So it's extracting all the smoke.
So let's break some of that down. Okay.
Yes.
So there's a lot packaged in there. So when I look at this, so what is this constructed of, and how easy is this to assemble in your house? And obviously you got sizes, so rooms, and so how does that work, that part?
Right. So the 8x8 room, it's a panelized room. So each room or each section is roughly 4x8. The wall sections are a little small, a little shorter than the floor sections, but they're roughly 4x8 panels. So you have your floor sections. In this case, we're in an 8x8 room. So we have two 4x8 floor sections, and we have 8 wall sections, and we have 2 roof sections. And so all these sections get installed. The floor gets placed, and then the walls get placed on the floor, and then the ceiling gets placed. And then you run your venting, which the venting runs outside via, similar to a dryer vent. So you do have to make it an opening in your house, but it looks just like another dryer vent, and it can stay in place even if you move. It's not a big deal.
Can you vent it out through a window, like close the window down around and put a fitting in there?
Yes. Yeah. Like I think the portable air conditioners and whatnot have those adapters that they can fit in the window. Yes, this could be vented out just the same way. And so, yes, there's a few different ways. You could also, if you're a first floor installation, you could go through your ceiling up through the attic and vent it out like a low profile exhaust vent, like a bathroom vent would vent out. So there's literally about 3 different ways that you could vent this. But the beauty is, anybody can build a room and try and seal it up, and then it gets filled with smoke until it eventually pulls out some fart fan on the side of your house, right? This is pulling the entire floor area, is pulling straight up. It's sort of like an air hockey table, but you're not feeling the air because there's so many holes in the floor, and there's a bunch of holes in the ceiling. Roughly in this room, I would say there's, I don't know, 8,000 holes in the floor and ceiling. So no matter where you're sitting, that air is pulling straight up and out. So we've had this at the Brew City Cigar Festival in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We had like 6 people in the room all smoking, and you think, wow, an 8x8 room, 6 people, that thing's going to be just full of smoke. But what you find is that even with 6 people smoking in it, that smoke is just going straight up and out. So it doesn't hotbox. It, in fact, vents quite well. It's just pulling up and out.
So it's venting the smoke, and how is it? So if I put it in my house, go to the bedroom, my AC set to, let's just say 75 degrees, right? That's why I like my AC, right? Some people like it cooler. How does that that air on the bottom come from the outside of the room and is pushing up?
Exactly, yes. So this room is pulling in all throughout the perimeter of the base of the room, and then it's pulling through the floor section of the room and pulling up. So whatever temperature you have your house set at, that's what this will be operating at.
Okay. Now it sounds very quiet in there. So, you have fans, obviously you got feet on the bottom that's pushing air up.
Or
it's only pulling air from the top.
It's a passive system on the floor. On the supply, it's passive. It's pulling air in, and then it's pulling it out through the ceiling cavity.
So it pulls air through the bottom.
Correct.
And then the vent at the top is pulling the air out of all the holes up top.
Yes.
So there's two. You have 2 motors, two pumps, 2 fans.
There's just one on the ceiling.
Just one on the ceiling.
It's on the exterior of the ceiling section, and it is pulling all the air up through the floor. So it's pulling it through the perimeter of the room, through the floor section, obviously up through the room, and then up through the ceiling and pushing it out.
Okay. What does it cost to run that? Is there
oh geez,
inexpensive?
No, the motor pulls maybe 1 amp, so
okay.
it's negligible. I don't know. It's probably cents. It's probably about maybe an inch, probably not an inch of your cigar. Probably about a half inch of a cigar is the cost to run it.
Right. So now, if you were to put it outside, obviously, then you get whatever the ambient air temperature outside is. Is it waterproof? That's the outside, the top, the ceiling. How do you keep it from the elements if you put it outside?
This unit is built to be placed indoors. This is the indoor unit.
Okay.
We have not started on an exterior unit. It's a little bit difficult, and it would be most difficult in the summertime. I've done some testing to do like a radiating heater to heat the room in the wintertime, but because you're pulling outdoor air, I would need to do a lot of testing to make sure that, if I have, let's say, 0-degree air getting pulled in, that the room itself, interior-wise, still stays comfortable.
Well, you can put heaters in, I guess.
But you don't, and you might be, it might work that way. It's just that because it's pulling in all the outdoor air, you'd have to make sure that you're overcoming that. And you don't want to have blowers on your heater because then it's messing with the airflow.
Right. So I'm thinking of how many of the enthusiasts that have smoking tents. I did a whole show on smoking tents a couple of years ago, and they showed off all their ingenious methods of smoking outside in the frigid cold of the Midwest in the winter, and how they vent things through tents, and how they have these cool electric heaters that they use, and they keep it comfortable, and they're sitting in there without having to be all bundled up. I would think a mechanism to do something similar would be pretty cool as even just an add-on, pre-engineered into it, right? That says if you want to go outside, then we have this other thing, right, that comes with the kit for an outside install.
You said you made the hint. You'd have to weatherproof it, insulate it, and so that would be a little different.
All that can be done, but what's much cooler is walk down your hallway and go into the room, and that's it.
Yeah, right. So if you have a spare room, right? I
sure.
mean,
or here we have basements, so
true. True.
People have a basement, and there's room there typically.
All right. I'm going to share the some of the pictures that you have on your website here for people to get a view of it.
Okay.
Can you see what I'm showing?
Yep.
Okay. So this first picture shows the door, right? So the door. So this is all sealed, I take it. So there's no bleed out of this, right?
So the door itself doesn't have like a particular seal on it. And all the testing, we've actually done the testing with the door just as it is. And we may get to that. Hopefully we get to that on the website because we have testing data.
Yeah, I'll pull that up.
Yeah, that proves that no smoke escapes the room.
Okay. The next picture. So this is actually, so there's different types of doors, obviously, that you have. All the same door. I just saw what the door looks like. Okay, so
one's outside,
it's a glass door. Okay. One question before I get to the door. Obviously you put it in your basement is one thing. If you put it into a room in your house, is there any issues with code as far as every room has to have an escape window? Are you blocking a window? Does that cause any problem with it from a code perspective in municipalities that you know of?
Well, so it's every living quarter does. And I mean, unless you're if you want to set up a bed and live in the room, then you'll probably have to have an opening to your window to get through to your window. No, I don't, outside of the extreme enthusiast who says, you know what, I'm just going to live in my PK room. But
I practically live here in my garage lounge. I mean, I'm in here more than I am anywhere else in my house.
Put an extra opening in it to get to your window.
The next picture shows the exhaust fan. So, right, this is the exhaust up here.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's venting out through a ceiling.
This is venting out through a ceiling, and this is pulling from the side right here. Is that what it is? There's where that connection is. That's pulling in. So this is the kind of the outlet of the ceiling area where it pulls from.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. You mentioned on your site that these come with what, 1 or 2 sockets?
We've got actually 3 sizes.
No, sockets, electrical sockets.
So there's no electrical in the room. What we install are grommets to be able to.
Oh, grommets.
Yes. So behind the TV there that you see, probably about on the upper 2/3 right behind the TV, there is a grommet to be able to pull the cord through to be able to plug in your TV, sound bar, and whatever else you may have hooked up.
Okay, so basically you would bring in a kind of a strip outlet.
Yep.
Okay, put it through the grommet. So the 3-prong plug can fit through that grommet.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And you have 3 of those.
Not an entire strip.
No, but the plug,
right.
plug, right? Yeah.
Yes,
for sure.
Okay. And then this shows you set up in here with so this is the floor. So all the little holes. Now I see what you're saying. It looks like a air hockey table. And do you feel that air like an air hockey table, or is it
You
just
do not feel the air. No.
no? Okay.
I mean, if you put your hand down right on top of it, you might feel, the air moving, but that's about it.
So you technically can't put, or wouldn't recommend putting a floor, any kind of flooring, even like a throw rug on this or something, because
No.
so you're limited to that's what the floor is. So what's that floor made of?
This is I forget what the actual veneer material is. It's like a plywood. It doesn't have all the crazy grains in it though. But basically what we do is we burn the floor and then we seal the floor. So it's got a neat finish to it.
Okay. So it's one color. That's it.
Well, it's kind of multicolor. I mean,
no, I mean, there's only one option. There's only one option for the floor.
Correct.
We could burn it darker.
All right. So is there going to be options for people?
If someone has a particular request for a floor, we can do that.
Right.
This is essentially the base.
Okay. So the amount of furniture in the room, is there a limit on that, on the size of the room for, I mean, I could put in more chairs and have, crowd people in here, but then I'm limiting, is that causing any limitation in the airflow?
No.
Okay.
The chairs, no. Our recommendation would be, and you can see with those lounge chair, those club chairs that, they have feet on them. So the actual body of the chair is up off the floor, which is typical of most chairs anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the recommendation, that they're not completely down on the floor. But even if they were, it wouldn't affect the airflow any. It would just force it into other areas. So yeah, okay. And again, that's in an 8x8. I mean, we have 2 chairs and a table and whatnot in here, and we in 8x8 could easily manage 4 chairs.
4 chairs, a couple end tables, and a lamp.
Yep.
Okay. So this is all wood paneling.
Yes, this is it's cedar veneered wood paneling.
Okay. So easy to, you just basically tack a wall hanger on here and it's not a problem. How thick is the wall? I mean, I'm not gonna have to worry punching a hole through it, or.
Well, the walls are 4 inches thick, so they're framed a full 2x4.
Okay.
And then the paneling is 1/4 inch. So
Just depends on how heavy of an item you want to hang on your wall.
we have a fellow who has, and actually we have it up on our Facebook page. I thought you were going to show that video. We recently put a video up on Facebook. Of course, the first ad got rejected, so we had to do some work, but we got it through actually, and so we have a pretty cool video up on Facebook right now.
All right, I'll go pull that up in a moment, and we can take a look at some more video of what we've got. And then this shows the ceiling. So the ceiling holes are bigger than the floor holes. If I'm correct.
No, the ceiling holes mimic the floor, so they're
okay. So what size are these holes? Because it's hard to see it from this perspective.
Yeah, the front holes are 1/4. The front holes are 3/4 inch, and then those far back holes are like 1/32 of an inch.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
They're all the same.
They're all 1/4 inch.
These are all 1/4 inch. Okay.
Yes.
Somebody got artsy with that picture.
Yeah, obviously. And then lastly, okay, then there's the floor. Okay. So I imagine this is a rough view of it, because I see some blemishes on the holes.
Yeah. Well, that was pre-CNC machine.
Okay. Yeah. So a little bit
we
of
have
a
a machine that drills those now.
Okay. And then these come in. So the website is very informative, folks. You got a 4x8, which is what is the smallest, kind of two people facing each other. An 8x8 is what you're in now. And then you have an 8x12.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then coming down here, went through that. And then they have a lot of information here about how do they work, what is it, how big is it, kind of give you a lot of details. Comes with a warranty, by the way, right? So 1 year parts and labor, and you got 2 years on the exhaust fan. Okay. So somebody mentioned on the chat right now, I just happened to mention dry event, and he said dry events get collected with, lint and that. So they're not dealing with lint here, but it did bring a question to my mind. When you're smoking, there's dust, there is ash. Over time, is there any issue where you have to clean out the top? Does it start to collect up there in any way where you have to address that as a maintenance perspective of the room?
So if there are, well, I can tell you there's some ash in mine because I've ashed on the floor instead of my ashtray. Haven't we all?
Yes, and that happens all the time.
You don't get any of that in the vent because it's not getting pulled up.
Right. But it gets on the floor, falls through the holes.
Sure, it'll get on the floor and on the holes. No effect whatsoever. There's a base on the unit, and so it's not like it's dropping down onto carpet or whatever the flooring is of your home.
But it collects down there, right?
Sure, it'll collect down there, but there's no effect on anything.
Because I know I have a very simple, thin little carpet in my lounge that I've had for too many years. I got to replace it. But it gets, I sit on my couch, I sit on my chairs, I sit at my desk, and ashes fall all the time. And the beautiful part about this carpet is I don't really care, because if it hits, I just kick the ash away. It doesn't matter, but when I clean the lounge every now and then, and I lift up this carpet, I am absolutely shocked at the amount of under carpet dirt that happens, the dust, how it all the dust, just the general dust from the room, and how it gets down under there. And I would think over time, if you use this room like most enthusiasts would use it quite often, those ashes are going to fall. They're going to get into those holes. They're going to get down underneath there. Is there a way to get in there and clean that? You got to disassemble the whole room. Can you lift that up?
Right. There isn't a way to get below the floor. Although I would just say that if you ashed on the floor, unless you rubbed it into the floor, there should be a very minimal amount that would actually get through those holes into the floor.
Okay.
I mean, if I ash, you should have some semblance of the ash that's going to be sitting on top of the floor, the vast majority of it, which you would be able to sweep up at that point.
Okay. At this point, let me take another quick break. We're going to give out a shout out to our second set of sponsors. And then when we come back, we're going to go talk about testing and certificate, what you've gone through from certs and all of that to get all kinds of good testing on this, and what you wanted to show to the folks. So let me just tee this up for a second. And we'll just share this. So today our sponsors, as in the past, brought to you by, starting with Casa Cuevas Cigars. Casa Cuevas Cigars. In the 19th century, Juan Cuevas, Spanish immigrant from Santander, began what was to be a family business which now spans 4 generations. Like others fortunate enough to live and work in Pinar del Rio province of Cuba, Juan commenced cultivating tobacco, turning it into a successful business. Following in his father's footsteps, his son Juan Jr. continued with the family business, successfully expanding it until events which took place in 1959 forced a dramatic change. Years later, in the Ciabo Valley of the Dominican Republic, Luis Cuevas Sr., Juan Jr.'s son, carried on the family tradition of handcrafting fine cigars in the family's cigar factory, Tabacalera Las Lavas. Today, Luis Sr. is joined by his son Luis Jr. in the manufacturing and sale of premium long filler cigars at their factory, Tabacalera Las Lavas in Santiago, Dominican Republic. So check out Casa Cuevas Cigars at www.casacuevascigars.com and on their Instagram and Facebook channels.
Introducing Blackened Cigars, M81 by Drew Estate. A dark, bold, and unapologetic cigar collaboration.
My job is all about taste. So when James mentioned he wanted to create an exclusive cigar, I was stoked.
Like Metallica, Drew Estate has some of the most hardcore fans out there. I've known Rob Dietrich for years, and when he approached me to collaborate on this, we couldn't be more excited. I mean, Metallica, Black and Whiskey, and Drew Estate, what could be a better passion project? Needed to craft a cigar unlike anything in our portfolio.
One that would take cigar fans on the deepest, darkest, heaviest journey into the mystical world of Maduro.
Full-bodied with notes of espresso, leather, and dark chocolate. Blackened Cigars, M81 by Drew Estate.
Before you light your next cigar, be sure to check out Cigar Medics, the makers of the patent-approved humidimeter. The humidimeter is a tool designed to display the relative humidity inside your cigar. With this device, there's no more guessing. Simply insert the probes into the foot or cap of your cigar, and you can instantly know if your cigar is ready to be smoked. Buy now on cigarmedics.com and see site for other cigar accessories. With the humidimeter, you'll know when to hold them and know when to smoke them.
And today's show is brought to you by Bocock Brothers Cigars, a new and active brand founded by two Honduran brothers, Bryant and Douglas Bocock. The brand zeroes in on those folks that are looking for easy-to-smoke cigars inspired by unusual circumstances. Very importantly named after their very interesting and imitable last name, Bocock. Right now, Bocock Brothers is featuring their signature edition, made at the AJ Fernandez factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. It features an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper, a Nicaraguan Habano binder, and a Nicaraguan filler. Available in 3 popular formats, a Robusto, a Toro, and a Gordo. You can check out Bocock Brothers Cigars at www.bocockbrothers.com. And today's show is brought to you by Platinum Nova Cigars. Platinum Nova is a family-owned and operated premium cigar company. Only the highest vintage tobacco and the most skilled hand workmanship go into the making of each Platinum Nova cigar. This results in a timeless blend of art and craftsmanship. The Nova brand and the family's work are a tribute and an honor to their grandfather, to always remember him and his infinite passion for the finest cigars. Their love for cigars started with their grandfather, a dedicated master blender and entrepreneur in the cigar industry. So the next time you're looking for that exquisite cigar experience, pick up a Platinum Nova. You can check them out at Platinum Nova Cigars, www.novacigar.com, and on their Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter channels. All right. I'd like to thank my sponsors, for without them, the show is always a little harder to do. Let's get back to Mike and Tim. A couple of questions were coming in. One is Lou Piscatelli asked, how many CFM
is on the fan pulling?
It is roughly, I believe, 400 to 500.
Okay. And is that the same for every room, or is it different for the rooms?
So it's a variable speed fan. So we use the same fan in all the rooms, but it depends on the size of the room and how many are smoking in the room as to the speed that you need. For instance, the 8x8, we would run at about 70% with the both of us. You could run that at like 50%, or just one we're smoking in it. So it's there's a lot of variety there of how many people are smoking, the size of the room.
Okay. And then Yolana Applebaum asked, and I think Chris Colter might have answered this for you, but I'll ask you anyway. How does the smoke not go to the other room if there are holes in the floor?
Yeah. So it's always pulling air through the ceiling. So it's essentially pulling the room itself in a bit of a negative pressure. Meaning if there are any gaps, it's pulling air in as opposed to letting air push out. Which if you were pushing air into the floor and then pulling it through the ceiling, you would be a lot more susceptible to that problem of pushing air out through any gap. But because we're pulling all the air in, even if there's a gap somewhere, it's pulling it in. So you don't have the issue.
Okay. So if I go into Facebook, is it on your Facebook, PK Rooms?
PK Rooms.
Yeah.
So let's go to PK Rooms, and let's go share this and talk about this. All right. All right, so in PK Rooms, this is a nice one. I like the way you got that set up in there.
That was one of our first customers.
Yeah, that looks really nice.
Yeah,
Well
he has
decorated.
stuff on every wall. There's all sorts of stuff in that room. I need to get his testimonial up there. He's got a great testimonial about it.
That's the video we want to watch.
This one here? Okay.
Yeah.
That's
let's
the video.
let's open this up here. Let's I might have to let me even share this for 1 second. I have to put the sound on it. Okay. Sound on. Whoops. Do that again. Sound on. Okay, and we'll blow this up.
You've been there. Too windy to torch your Toscano? Risking it all for that Romeo?
Mom, Dad's in the house again.
Freezing your Ashton off in the winter months? Just too darn hot to enjoy your Espinosa? Raining on your Rockies? Yep. You've been there, but you haven't been here. PK Rooms. No fuss, no filters, just fresh air.
Very cool. They did a really good job on that.
Your reaction was exactly what we were going for. I saw that. That was fun to make, let me tell you.
that is fun to make, and that is an attractive commercial for what you're doing. I'm sure the folks that are watching this are saying the same thing, and there are people now going, "How come I don't have one of these?" If I go back into the site, I want to go to the where do I find the testing information?
You should be able to scroll right down, and it's right on that page.
Like on the questions and stuff. Oh, there it is. I see it. Hold on. Let me just open that up. All right. So you guys did you paid to have all this testing done. And
right.
So walk me through what you got. So you did all this testing back in late 2022. So it's very recent. You had an environmental hygienist, biologist from the Midwest Indoor Air Quality. So there you go. So talk us through this a little bit. You got some interesting chemical names in here. Why are these all important to people?
Right. So he's going to be able to explain to you all the specific information. Let me get to, well, that's actually a good one right there. So the 100%, first we'll go to the 81 to 98.2% reduction. And I'll tell you how we did the testing and how we arrived, or how he arrived at those numbers. So the room we're sitting in is the 8x8 room. A cigar was smoked for an hour straight inside the room, and all the testing was done with that. And it's equipment that pulls in air samples through like a suction pump, and it pulls it into a filter media that then gets sent out to a laboratory, and then they test it for all these different compounds. And so the cigar was smoked for an hour straight inside the room. There was testing across, so essentially from where Tim and I are, I was smoking here, and where he was, there was a testing station. And then there was also a testing station outside of the room, like just a couple feet outside of the room. Again, for an hour straight, it pulled in samples, and I don't know how often it pulls it in, whether it's set up to pull in every minute or every 30 seconds. But it was pulling in samples the entire time. That media was sent in, tested. And so inside the room, the 81 to 98.2% reduction of nicotine and 100% elimination of those other numbers. The 81 to 98, essentially, he explained it because I'm like, well, okay, well, what does that mean? He said, well, basically what that means is if you live in this apartment and your next door neighbor smokes, if you are getting any residual smoke in your own apartment unit, that's basically what you're getting, which is very minimal. So again, when I mentioned it doesn't hotbox because it's pulling great, those numbers are proving that statement, that it's because the smoke is pulling up and out. I might be smoking. Tim's like, I don't want to smoke today, or maybe.
Well, let's be realistic.
Okay, maybe not Tim.
Maybe your wife.
Maybe someone else wants to be in here and doesn't want to smoke, and doesn't want to really smell the smoke. It's going to be a massive reduction in the smoke that they are picking up. And then, of course, the 100% elimination was the measurements outside of the room, which states no smoke is escaping the room. They didn't have any smoke, any sort of, and they don't test by the smoke. It's particular compounds in the tobacco is obviously what they're testing for. And so that came up to 0 outside of the room.
Okay. Do you know what the importance of these two chemicals are?
I do not.
I imagine those are like possibly the carcinogenics or whatever that people might be worried about from
I would guess.
tobacco smoke.
Maybe that's what leads to the aroma. Who knows?
I don't know.
None of it was out there.
So then you had this other run on an enthalpy analytical. And
yeah, I think that's who did the
that's probably the lab.
I think that was the laboratory.
That was the lab, the actual lab report that presented what you just saw. Okay. Okay. So you can check this out, people, if you're looking for it. I would think that, I keep going back to the concept of private houses got your own room, got a basement, you put this in, that's great. A lot of people don't have private houses. They may have condos, they may have apartments. Apartments don't allow smoking, right? California, you got condos. You'll be really careful because they don't allow smoking in a condo because it bleeds out through the wall, under the floorboard, whatever, to the guy next door, and he's like, all he has to do is complain, and you get kicked out of the condo, something like that.
Can you smoke anywhere in California?
Yeah, you can smoke in a lounge. You can smoke in a lounge. You can smoke in a lounge, and you can smoke as you walk down the middle of the street.
Yeah, it's pretty limited out there.
And you get the same problem in Hawaii and there are other states like that. So I would think that goes back to my thing of, if you were able to vent it out through a window attachment, okay, that's sealed around the window and just blew it out there. You know, that might be a satisfactory solution for people. They'd have to check with their, you know, how far away they are from where that smoke, especially if you're on the top floor, it's probably great, right? Because then it just goes out and dissipates, right? So yeah, I think that would be an awesome way to do it. Quite an invention. Well, what do you, Mike, do for a living? This is not your only thing, obviously, that allowed you to come up with this. So what's your background?
In HVAC.
Okay. All right. So you
they play well together.
Mm-hmm. And then you got involved. You machine. You do this yourself, or do you have workers that do this to make the components?
Yeah, I have people that assemble the units, and then, like I said, we have a CNC machine that the floor is very time consuming.
Okay.
But so obviously we've mechanized that.
Now, what do these generally run for the 3 different rooms without installation? Just if I was to buy the kit and wanted to just do it myself, which people could do, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. The 8x8 room realistically takes a couple guys, maybe 3 hours to install.
Right. It's like putting together an IKEA furniture.
You know, yeah. If you move, you take it down and move it to your new house, or sell it to the next guy for, you know, and then buy another one, whatever. But
what's the cost on them?
Yep, the 4x8 unit is $5,400. The 8x8 unit is $8,200, and the 8x12 unit, properly sized for a oval poker table,
we measured,
is $11,500.
Okay. So there you go, folks. If you really want to get out of that cold weather, that rainy weather, that muggy weather here in Florida, and you want to have a comfortable place to smoke and enjoy your cigars, PK Rooms is most definitely an option. I would think that people have tried many different ways of doing this in their house. They put rabbit airs on their wall. But you still got to deal with the smoke that's still the rabbit air. My rabbit air circulates my 380 square feet here twice an hour, okay, when I've got the door closed. Fortunately, a lot of times I open the garage door when it cools down at night. The whole room airs out anyway. But when it's enclosed, it goes 2 hours. There is smoke in this room during those 2 hours. Always. There's always smoke lingering in this room. All right. So if you open the door to go into the house and come into this garage while everything is closed off, you're going to smell smoke in this area. If I let that thing run, the next morning I come back, it's relatively clean. That's the problem you deal with just the rabbit air in a room, right? This solves that problem. Nobody's going to walk down the corridor and be like, "Oh, Dad's smoking cigars again."
Well, and plus you have the filters, right? You have, this. We did the math, I think, on our way to Milwaukee. That this thing turns over the air in here about once a minute. So, Mike said we'd have 6 or 8 people standing in here smoking. They couldn't listen to us talk because they were just amazed that the air was so clear so fast when we were all smoking. So it's pretty incredible how quick it works. And it's been tested a lot, not just officially like you showed with that report, but there's been a lot of cigar smoke in this room.
And there's no filters involved in this.
No filters, no.
So the only maintenance you have to deal with is if the exhaust fan was to fail in 2 years. What does an exhaust fan cost?
The exhaust fan's like $120, and it takes about 5 minutes to change.
Okay.
It's extremely quick to change out. And this is kind of where my HVAC background is played in this, because I work on cigar lounges around here, work on a lot of HVAC equipment. I know the really more so the shortcomings of filtration. Filters are great when you first install them, but then think about it. It's filtered out the smoke, the smell, and now you have the air that you're pulling in that you're trying to push back into the space going through a filter that has a bunch of smoke smell in it. That's going to escape back into the space.
That's right.
It's inescapable.
Because you get something that looks like that.
Exactly. You just, it's not a knock on it. It's just a reality. It's a reality.
Right.
So I knew that I wanted to design something that did not have filters at all costs. I did not want to have filters, and I wanted to design something that was extremely low maintenance. There's really nothing any more low maintenance than having one fan that pulls, I think, 1.2 amp, and that's it. That's literally it to maintain. Other than you should probably sweep the floor every now and then.
But I would be vacuuming the floor. Okay. Ideally, because if you sweep the floor, you might push it into the holes.
Exactly.
So
right. Yeah.
I would get that vacuum out and just vacuum that floor up good, every now and then it'll suck up through the holes any debris possibly that maybe fell down in there. So, where are you? Go ahead.
Oh, there are openings around the perimeter. If you had a small, I think the holes are like 1.5 inches. So, you could put a wand in there, if you really are concerned about it. You could put a wand in there to vacuum out that bottom cavity. So while you can't take the floor off, you can get to the bottom.
Okay. That makes it easier. Now, where are you currently in your patent pending process?
I think we're about a couple weeks out from filing the utility patent. So we already have an attorney working on that. We're still within our 1-year patent pending period. So we're moving along on that.
So there's nobody out there that's done anything like this.
Not through all the research that we've done, no.
Let's go to a segment I love, and it's called "Let's Get to Know the Guests." Other than this, Tim hasn't spoken a lot, so we'll start with Tim.
It's hard to get Mike to shut up.
Nah, he's the guy, man. Come on, he invented this. I love inventors. I'm an engineer myself, so I love talking to people that come up with cool concepts that make sense and actually work.
Right.
Tim, what is your thing you love to do when you're besides smoking cigars and selling stuff? What do you like to do as a hobby?
I'm a big movie guy. Watch a lot of movies. Something that my daughter and I bonded over a lot. But I just always love going to the theater. So, just movies, music, sports, events, stuff like that. Got a pretty varied taste in music and movies and entertainment area. But in sports, I'm a huge Kansas City fan, so a big Chiefs, a big Royals fan. So I haven't been to any games for the last few years, but we're ready now. I think we're getting ready to head back down to Kansas City, which is close for us.
Go Chiefs, man.
Yeah.
I keep telling people, I was a big Brady fan for a long time. And I said when he left the Patriots, I became a big Tampa fan because I follow quarterbacks, and now he's gone. So I tell you what, Mahomes is on my right there in the middle of the radar screen going, man, that might be my quarterback for a while to start watching because I love the way that kid moves.
He's pretty incredible, the stuff he does. It's just, you keep hearing a lot of the coverage. They're saying, well, we're starting to take him for granted because he does that stuff every game. And so it's like they almost forget about him because he does this crazy stuff, that they work on with that coach, that he lets them have some fun and they do some fun stuff in the games.
Absolutely. So good for you, man. You got a hot team there to be on top of for a while. What was the latest movie you saw?
We just went and saw the Guardians of the Galaxy was the last one.
Oh, I need to go see that. Is that as good as the other ones?
It's I would put it right up there with them. It's a fitting end to the movie, the series. It was it was a trilogy basically. A lot of the same family themes and a lot of that stuff. And if you're sappy as I am, take some tissues, that kind of stuff. So
and you got to wait to the last credit still because there's a tremendous amount of Easter eggs at the end where you got to go to the very last credit.
Yeah, there's 2 credit scenes, I believe, if I remember correctly. I thought somebody said there was 3, so I'm sitting there and the lights came up. I'm like, all right, I guess we're done.
But I love how the theater, a lot of times these people leave the theater, and when the credits begin, it's like you do not understand the type of movie you're watching. The movie's not over. It's more to talk about. So yeah, that's the next movie we're gonna go see, and you have to see that in a movie theater. You really do.
Oh yeah. It'll be fun to watch on the TV, but yeah, I'm kind of that guy. There's certain movies that when I see a preview, I'm like, I'll wait till it comes out, on DVD, or we don't do DVDs anymore, but streaming or whatever. But there's certain ones you're like, there's no way you can't at least see it once in the theater.
Right. How about you, Mike? What is your big hobby besides everything you do?
Man, I like to ride my motorcycle. Rode that here tonight.
Okay.
Don't get a whole lot of time to ride it, but when I do, I make sure I do. I have 6 children, so
keeps you busy.
Yeah, that keeps you pretty busy.
You guys camp a lot.
Oldest, one boy and 5 girls. So
the
boys out of the house. So man,
you better start selling a lot of these rooms, man, because your wedding bills are expensive.
No kidding.
Wow.
Yeah.
God bless you. 5 girls.
Yeah.
Apparently Mike was not a good boy in school. God got back at him.
You know what? We had a 10-year-old birthday party for my son when he turned 10, and he had a bunch of his buddies over. And the house stunk for a friggin' week after that. And I thought, I think there's a reason why I have girls, because all the boys stink, man.
Yeah, we have a stench all the time, right? Yeah.
My wife teaches junior high, and she talks about how boys at that age. She's like,
as soon as they start going through puberty, the sweat glands open up, and they're not putting any deodorant on. It's
Well, or they try to cover it with Axe, and my wife hates it.
That's right.
Not a shower substitute.
No,
it's not a shower. Yeah, they need to be taking showers every day. They get to be that age. Yes. My dad was never one for deodorant. He never wore deodorant his whole life. And man, I tell you what, when I'd walk, he would, he showered every day, but you just sit next to him. You're like, you just, Dad, man, It's like, come on, you know, use some of this. I don't need any of that garbage. I'm like,
Father's
really?
Day gifts or baskets full of different kinds of deodorant now.
Yeah. Well, he's since passed, but I tell you what, I'm sure his gravesite probably smells a lot like him. So, this has been a really fun show. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk through what you have to offer. I hope the folks that watch this and afterwards watching this really take note of what you've got here, Mike. It really, to me, fits the bill for a number of people. Price wise, I think that they'll, that they have to factor that in to say, hey, what is your happiness worth? And that's what this is about, right? How happy are you to be able to have something like this in your house? You might have to fight your partner for the room. Say, that's my room. From now on, this is it. But other than that, yeah, this is big. How many have you sold so far?
So we have 4 units out there. Now, we just started late last year. And I will say, I didn't want to push hard or do a whole lot of promotion. I wanted to get the testing done. Like, we knew just anecdotally that the room worked, but that wasn't good enough for me. I wanted to get the independent testing done on it.
Right.
To be able to prove and show real data that it does in fact work well. So we're doing a lot of stuff this year. We did a small festival here a couple weeks ago. We're doing one at a very popular lounge in Kansas City here next Friday. We like to work with lounges and just different people to be able to promote and then show the room. We want people to go in and test out the room for themselves. We don't want them to take our word for it. We want to check it out.
They don't believe us anyway.
Are you going to PCA this year with it?
We are going to PCA. Yep.
Okay.
I think there were some pictures on the website. You kind of went through them real quick, but there's a picture and it shows the gun. It shows one of the units with a gun and a bookshelf and a few others. That was sold to someone within that organization who mentioned that it might be a good idea for us to be a part and go to the PCA.
I think it would be amazing.
Yeah,
because the traffic, walking around the floor, right? People come to this in a booth and it'd be like, what is this? Right? And you invite them in and you show them, God, man, you got a lot of retailers there. Okay. Primarily is what, that's what it's all about. It's a retailer association. But just to know about it and say, hey, this is get a little extra, push. And I'll tell you, unfortunately, I will not be at PCA, and that's probably a good moment for me to just quickly give my shameless plug for raising money for autism. Okay. I'll be climbing this mountain during PCA. So I have a campaign. You may not know this. I'll tell you, others already know. So we've been doing this Climb for Autism. My son and I, who ended up getting his doctorate at Vanderbilt on neurobiological research studying the autism spectrum. And I promised him when he got his doctorate, we're going to go to Mount Fuji and climb the mountain. There's a whole lot of reasons behind that. We already talked about the reasons. It's all in here. But if you go to this link or scan that QR code, so anybody's watching, just go ahead, scan a QR code, drop a donation. Okay. And what that'll do is it'll bring you to Autism Speaks. This is my campaign. We've already raised $4,300. That's a drop in the bucket. I still want to see more coming in because I think the cigar community should really be getting behind all of this. But the cool part about this is that if you donate and you want to, if you're a shop, a group, a brand owner, and have your fans or your members donate and tag tag that to your name when you put it in. So if you put in John Doe dash, smoke in, or John Doe dash PK rooms, all right, what happens is whoever raises the most money is going to get I'm going to take a photo op at the top of the mountain, and that photo op is part of all the coverage we're going to do in the article afterwards. But I'm also going to make sure I have a framed photo of that signed by my son and I with a thank you that they could put prominently in their lounge, in their office, or whatever. We're thanking them to be the number one. For those that want to know the numbers right now, Smoke In currently is number one in the fundraising right now, but you have plenty of time between now and July to get out there and get your name possibly at the top of the heap. You got to beat $1,400 from Smoke In right now. So that's where they're sitting. So always thank you, Smoke In, for what you've done. But I won't be a PCA. But there will be plenty of media there. Okay. So my brother in the media, they're going to cover this like crazy. I guarantee you that every media outlet is going to be there. You will more than likely get written up in Half Wheel. You should get written up by Cigar Coop. You should get written up. Cigar Aficionado should be walking in that room. You got to find those people. You got to get those people into that room and show them what you've got. That would be the coolest thing in the world, to have these big sites, especially, picking you up and saying, hey, here's an article, and do something. Cigar Journal should be in that room. So reach out to those folks and let them know you're there and invite them over to experience a PK room. That's Tim's job, I'm sure.
I'll make sure of it.
All right. So last question before we call the show. When am I going to see you on Shark Tank? Mark Cuban's a big cigar guy.
I know. Yeah.
This would be a very cool episode of Shark Tank.
They want too much equity.
Well, there's a trade. There's a trade. A Shark Tank. A shark gets you more. They want equity, of course, but the trade may be worth giving if they could scale you, because that's your biggest problem is going to be scaling, right? Because how are you going to produce these things if people start ordering these? How do you scale up? Okay, the operation.
We've probably done it a little bit too much in reverse, but we do have the capacity to turn out a considerable number of units right now.
Right.
And the hope of PCA is, we essentially want to create kind of, whether it's a franchisee or whether it's a wholesaler in specific locations, where we work with them to help them do all the marketing and whatnot in their area. And then they have their own sales force, install crew, front door or location shipping and whatnot to handle all of that. So we're working on all of that right now. And we have a few parties interested in different parts of the country right now. So, as long as we can get around the algorithm gods and make sure that, and I was pleasantly surprised today when we put that ad out, and that is a boosted ad. So the very first one was rejected, and I was quite dejected when that occurred. But now that it's went through and we figured out how to work around there, we just want to, really the goal is to, we both love cigars. We both enjoy cigars for the camaraderie, for the fellowship, and the just enjoyment, the relaxation that it provides. It's sometimes hard to put the words what a cigar can do for just two guys to sit down and enjoy each other's company and really open up about life and share what's going on.
Right.
that's hard to explain, but somehow it happens when you just sit down and enjoy a cigar. So the real goal is just to encourage more of that. You know, we want to be a boost to the entire cigar industry. We'd love to see people smoking more cigars and enjoying,
Of course.
company more. I mean,
we'll get guys that buy 2 or 3 or 5 sticks buying boxes, because now they don't have to run to the store all the time, right? They can sit at home.
Yeah, right.
Mama's not yelling at them because they're stinking up, or they're out in the garage, or they're outside. And,
no, Mama's gonna yell at them because they're like me. They're always here. They're not.
The good news is, like we said, she can sit next to you.
Yeah.
She can sit next to you, and she says, "I want to watch a movie," and you say, "Well, I want to smoke a cigar." Well, here's your solution. You can do them both.
That's right. There you go. Just a quick point out. Lou Piscatelli, one of my great followers and brothers of the Leaf, he makes these cigar band art pictures you see behind me.
Yeah.
These things are all done with cigar bands. 100%. All the color is the cigar bands pasted in places. And what he's doing is he's offering from now till from May 14th to June 18th. Anybody that buys one of these prints, he will donate $20 per artwork to the Climb for Autism. So thank you, Lou. You're always a great brother of the Leaf. So if you like this stuff, you could go on LA Bandworks. Okay, Bandworks with an X on Facebook, and you'll see all the cool things he has as far as the different types of art that he does. If anybody wants anything custom, I'm sure he can create custom stuff too. He just has to get his head into the work that he does. He's a cabinet maker by trade, and he makes some amazing cabinets. But I'll just show you really quick for those that maybe aren't familiar with the work that Lou does. This is LA Bandworks. Okay, so you can see like this picture right here. This is all band art, cigar bands. And you come over, look at this one here. You can see this is stuff that he's currently was working on. How he does it, how he comes down. So he has all these different bands that people donate bands to him, and he just tries to figure out. That's his palette of color, and he just kind of sketches things out, and then he starts building these out. So you can see this one here. It was very cool for firefighters. This is a 9/11 tribute one he made. So these are all available in print now. The one over here of me is actually the original. This one on the other side is a print with that 57 Chevy. So check it out. LA Bandworks. Buy one, and $20 will go to the Climb for Autism. I'm going to give you guys the last word.
All right. First of all, I just want to say, man, enjoy your climb. You're going to have such a great time. Like the bonding that you and your son are going to have on that, man, it's really going to be a special time. So that's pretty awesome for sure. Just if anybody has questions, they can come to the website and text us anything, get a hold of us. Again, see us at the PCA. We'll be at La Cultura in Kansas City this Friday from 5 to 9. Tim Oxtender is going to be there unveiling a new line from Crown Heads. We'll be at the PCA.
Do you know where at PCA you're located?
What's that?
You know where you're located or where you're near?
We are right next door to the Boutique Cigar Association.
Oh, awesome.
Tent, right there. We're right there.
Great location.
Yep. We'll be at the Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival, like again, Brew City, probably a few others in between now and then. So yeah, just come check us out. We're here in Des Moines, so if anyone's in Des Moines area, there may be a listener in Des Moines. I don't know. Des Moines, Iowa, right in the middle of the Midwest. So yeah, we'd love to hear from you and answer any questions you have. Thanks for having us on the show.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Sure, Jimmy. And I would say if you're a shop owner, reach out to us. We'd love to do an event with you. We just want to help you guys sell more cigars. So we'd love to hear from you. We'll come out. We've got a little portable unit. We'll come out and demo it at your shop during an event.
Hey, fantastic. Everybody, hope you all have a great Mother's Day. Don't forget, if you haven't sent the roses or the card or whatever, you might want to get on top of that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if all moms, depending on age, are on Facebook, but a phone call still works, I guess, if you're not near her. So reach out, say Happy Mother's Day. So everybody have a great day. This is a great show. Thank you very much again for joining us. And with that, the show is over.